6 tips to relieve overactive bladder. Overactive bladder is a condition that causes involuntary urinating, since the muscles around this organ contract suddenly. Fortunately, you can relieve overactive bladder and its symptoms with a few tips. Sometimes, overactive bladder only produces a few drops of urine. However, in more serious cases, it leads to the emptying of a large amount of fluid from the bladder. Its development normally alerts us because it's a clear inconvenience. In fact, a large number of cases end up this way due to the lack of control in the early stages. The most worrying thing is that many people overlook their symptoms and only worry when the problem has already gotten more serious. This situation tends to hinder treatment. And, in general, it reduces quality of life. Because of this, it is important to analyze any significant change in your urination habits. Additionally, follow certain routines to help relieve overactive bladder. After all, many people face this problem. So, we've dedicated this space to 6 recommendations that can help relieve overactive bladder. Read on. Avoid eating certain foods. The adoption of a healthy and balanced diet is one of the most important keys to the control of this disorder. While it's easy to ignore, there are some stimulant foods that can increase the severity of symptoms. So, as well as controlling the consumption of fats and calories, it's also best to avoid foods such as alcoholic drinks, spicy foods, citrus juices, beverages and foods that contain caffeine, carbonated drinks, milk and other derivatives, sugar and refined flours, fried foods and sausages. Include Kegel exercises in your routine. The popular Kegel exercises focus on working the pelvic floor. Appropriately, this is the area where the bladder is located. These activities help strengthen the muscles that surround the bladder and increase the ability to control the urge to urinate. As well as this, there is also a therapy which decreases the risk of urinary incontinence and can improve your sex life. Best of all, they don't take much time. So, they can be part of your regular training routine. Schedule your visits to the bathroom. For people with overactive bladder, it can be a problem to plan their visits to the bathroom. The need to urinate appears frequently. However, this habit can become a therapy and training, since it makes it easier to control the problem. The idea is to plan the moments when you go to the bathroom, so that the bladder begins to synchronize and adapt. This way the spasms decrease when there is no liquid to expel and, at the same time, the number of times you'll need to urinate is reduced. Of course, it is not about holding on for the long periods of time until your bladder can't cope. The idea is to hold the urge for 3 or 5 minutes and, little by little, as the time increases, you gain more control. Control your liquid intake. We know that daily water consumption is a habit which helps us stay healthy and full of energy. However, those who suffer from overactive bladder should be careful, since the excess consumption can hinder your treatment. Although it is not a question of excluding it completely from your diet, it's advisable to reduce your intake while strengthening your bladder. Keep an eye on your body weight. Be very careful. Excess body weight can be a trigger for overactive bladder. Not to mention, it's an inconvenience. The fat that accumulates in the body weakens the muscles that support this organ and, little by little, reduce your ability to control urination. For this reason, it's important to monitor your body weight, adopting habits that keep it at healthy and stable levels. This will help you relieve overactive bladder. Stop smoking. Cigarette smoking is one of the most harmful practices for patients who need to relieve overactive bladder. This is because cigarettes are full of toxins and chemical agents. And, over time, these chemicals cause inflammation and weakening of the muscles. Its effects are not only noticed in respiratory health, but also in the urinary and cardiovascular system. Do you suffer an uncontrollable need to urinate? Are you urinating involuntarily? If so, consult your doctor to determine if you have overactive bladder, and how you can relieve overactive bladder. If you get this diagnosis, put these recommendations into practice to better relieve overactive bladder day to day.